real quick before we get into it, these are all opinions and should not be taken seriously. Alright boys, I'm back, and this time I have talked to you about how cheap the WWE has currently gone. And I'm not talking about the ticket prices. Of course not, they will never make those affordable. That goes straight into their pockets. I'm talking about everything else. Everything that makes the product a spectacle for fans. Those aspects are the ones that get the budget cuts. The absolute worst thing to do, because spectacle is one of the main selling points for this company. Spectacle is what makes the Big E stand above the rest. It is the one thing that this company always had over the competition. Their budget and their pockets were always deeper than everyone else's. No other wrestling company could ever match the WWE when it came to spectacle and budget. The Big E was the place that gave you the biggest matches with the biggest stars in the world, while at the same time having more than enough gold in the bank to make it look and feel like a big deal. However, over time, the type of spectacle you get from this company has evolved with the roster. In the late 90s, they had the megastars like Stone Cold, Rock, Undertaker, and Foley to give that product that wow factor. In the early 2000s, it was the same situation. However, stars weren't as big as the main eventers in the late 90s, but they still had some big names to carry the product. But that is when more and more was being invested into the visual spectacle of the product, such as unique stages for pay-per-views, some of the greatest themes of all time, and even the Titantron movies were going hard, and everything else. Pyro, lights, action, everything was popping off. And that kept happening for years, especially as the roster changed and was replaced by lesser stars as time went on. The one thing you could always rely on with this company was the spectacle. That was their main selling point for years, because you can find wrestling everywhere, and sometimes even better wrestling than the WWE would give you. But no other company could ever come close to the WWE's budget and production value. The biggest arenas, the biggest crowds, that is the WWE. But something feels off, especially now under the failed leadership of TKO and Triple H. The budget for production and spectacle keeps going down, 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 while the executive salaries only keep going up, up, up. So let's break it down, factor by factor, hit everything one by one to see what sort of damage TKO has done to this product.
Character that is. You were always very nice.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry if I'm a little fucking snippy.
That's fine.
I'm old, I'm fucking tired,
I
and I work with fucking children.
I respect it.
Stages are the most notable downgrade in the WWE, but let us be fair, stage design went downhill a long time ago. Not during TKO, but under Vince. Ever since the launch of the network, stage design and variety took a dive off a cliff. Just compare WrestleMania 30 to Mania 31. We went from an all-time classic to a big screen, and that happened with everything. Every stage we got at some point was just a big screen. Flat, boring, and forgettable. And those were the pay-per-view stages. Raw and SmackDown had it even worse, especially SmackDown. We went from an all-time classic with the fist to some boring blue screens. The lost art of unique and memorable stage designs in this company is one of the worst things to happen. Stages give a show character. A good stage can turn a forgettable show into a memorable show. Even if the only thing you remember is the stage, at least you remember something. But today, we have nothing. They even took away the big screens and replaced them with TVs. I hate the small stages some shows get. Every pay-per-view now has a forgettable stage. Even the biggest show of the year had a shit stage. Look at this. This is not a WrestleMania stage. It's so cramped. It's so tight. It doesn't scream WrestleMania. It screams insecurity. Just look at it. Why is it so compact? Look at some old Mania stages compared to this one. It is a major downgrade. It is so low, it should not even be considered as a Mania stage. This is a Raw stage at best. Every major pay-per-view these past few years has been getting worse and worse stages. The Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, Elimination Chamber, SummerSlam, they all got hit. They all took major budget cuts, and the stages are not the only things that got hit. The aura farming also took major blows. Custom entrances have always been a big part of pay-per-views, especially WrestleMania. Everybody wants to put their best foot forward at WrestleMania. But just like the stage, with every year past, Mania keeps having some of the cheapest and lamest custom entrances, especially this year's Mania. Let's start with Dominic Mysterio and his whack-ass entrance. They are trying so hard to push this guy back to the level he was, where he would get booed out of the building non-stop. But you have him come out on that? What is that? Is that supposed to be a throne? Why is it made out of cardboard? You can see the IKEA logo on it. What is this supposed to be? Is this supposed to be cool, intimidating, interesting to look at? What are they trying to do? Could they really not get a better looking throne for this guy? It's not even symmetrical. Look at where his hands are, where the throne is facing the crowd. It's mismatched. Where's the quality control in this company? Were they fired? Compare this garbage to the throne we had at WrestleMania 30. But that was for Triple H, so no price is too expensive for Triple H. He is the best wrestler of all time. He needs top quality. But his wrestlers, they can get the crumbs. They're peasant bums compared to Triple H and his great nose. And Dominic was not the only one to get screwed over with his entrance. The Demon Finn Balor also got a low-tier entrance. They built up the Demon so much. They wouldn't shut up about it. They had to say the Demon part every time they talked about this match. They could have kept it as a surprise, give the fans something to get excited about, but they had to announce it. They had to announce it so they could get some interest going for this WrestleMania, and hopefully people would buy some tickets to the lowest performing Mania in years. You know what's wild? You know something that's mind-blowing? WrestleMania 36 had more fans in attendance than WrestleMania 42 did. But going back to the Demon, with the company using his return so much to build up hype, you would think they would go all out for his entrance, right? Of course not. That money needs to go to the poor executives. They need to buy their third private yacht. The best they can do is a plastic heart and some confetti. Best offer from a multi-million-dollar company. Come on, man. Confetti? Confetti? Is this Ring of Honor? Can the WWE really not afford some crazy fireworks for one of the biggest returns at the biggest show of the year? What happened to all that record revenue? WWE wouldn't lie about that, would they? But I got one more example to show you of the downgrades we have been dealing with. Let's talk about the face that runs the place. The man that put this company on his back and took it to new heights. And this one is going to be a double feature because Stardust is the king of having cheap entrances at Mania. Do you remember all the way back at WrestleMania 41 when this guy came out for the main event wearing an Iron Man mask? An Iron Man mask that they painted white. Look at this. Now look at this Iron Man mask. Look at this. Look at that. That is a toy. They had their face come out at Mania wearing a Marvel toy. What is happening with this company? Now look at his entrance this year. Why are these mannequins here? Look how sad they are to be dressed up as him. Even the mannequins are not fans of this guy. What are we doing here? This company charges an arm and a leg for tickets and they give you this. Where did the money go? This is the crap that makes people think of wrestling as a joke. You have the biggest star apparently come out on the biggest show of the year rocking an Iron Man mask and some sad looking mannequins. If I was not a fan of wrestling and saw that shit, I would turn off the TV because my time is being wasted when you have a grown ass man coming out wearing an Iron Man mask that you painted white. Themes have also fallen to unrecognizable levels. We used to have some all-time classics, like I Won't Do What You Tell Me, I Walk Alone, Break the Walls Down, and so many more. Themes overall used to be goated. The good outweighed the bad, but today we only get crap. such as Symphony Number 9, any of Seth Rollins' themes, and new lows. And speaking about new lows, which is something that the WWE has become very used to, if you're going to lip sync your own song, make sure you start at the same time as the song. Messing up your own song? Where does the WWE get these bands from? Overall, the themes now are trash. There are no themes in current WWE that get you pumped up to see some wrestling. They're either generic, boring beats or some of the worst licensed music you have heard in your entire life. Non-stop garbage. That is all this company gives you. Low-tier garbage. But I have more things to talk about when it comes to the budget cuts.
The oldest 27-year-old senior the world has ever seen.
TKO did a good thing and a bad thing at the same time when it comes to pyro. They brought it back, which was great, but they brought it back in a shitty way. Once again, going back to WrestleMania 42, it opened up with a fireworks show. But unlike other manias where the pyro goes crazy, this year's fireworks were more like firecrackers. The pyro was low budget, like everything else when it comes to this company. If this company can't even give the fans a good firework at WrestleMania, what could they be expected to do? Except of losing fans and firing talent, of course. They're really good at that. They charge insultingly high prices for tickets, and this is the best they can give us. Did the pyro guy also get fired? Just compare the fireworks from the past to the pyro we got this year. It's not even close. They clearly don't care. Nobody in that company gives a damn anymore. They just want your money, and in return, they will give you low budget slop. However, there are more things to complain about when it comes to WWE's cheap product.
Hurt someone's interest to then find out what we're really about. We make movies.
The little things are what truly matter. The attention a company gives to the little things shows a lot about the company itself, and the WWE has been miserably failing at it. I have lost count of how many times this company has put up the wrong graphic display, names being misspelled or showing names of different wrestlers that are not even on your screen right now, and even pay-per-views having other show transactions. It has been a total mess. Last year, at Mania Night 1, I believe, they played the Survivor Series graphic transaction and not the Mania one multiple times. How do you do that at your biggest show multiple times? Once is understandable. Mistakes happen. It's not the end of the world. But by the third time, it's getting out of hand. And those are not the only mistakes they keep making. At this year's Mania, when Michael Cole was going through the matches, he was talking about the women's IC match, but the screen has been showing you the Liv Morgan match. Come on, man. You have been doing this for how long now? These are Bush League level mistakes happening on pay-per-views. You expect something like this from a backyard show, not from the WWE, the peak of professional wrestling, and of course, the non-stop mistakes by Michael Cole. This guy messes up every single line. Michael Cole constantly fucks up on commentary. This guy can't go one show without botching something. He's either getting a wrestler's name wrong, he makes the wrong announcement, he calls the wrong move. It's non-stop mistakes from this guy, and nobody tells him anything. Nobody ever just goes up to him and say, "Hey Michael, you've been doing this for 20 plus years. Can you stop fucking up and do your job properly?" It has been non-stop fuck up after fuck up from this guy. It is impressive at this point that he is still with the company. And the last example comes from WrestleMania 41. Remember John Cena's last Mania entrance when a random crew member for some unknown reason photobombed Cena? Bro, you couldn't wait for 5 minutes? You had to go out there when the cameras were facing towards you? Cena's supposed last Mania entrance as a wrestler, and they had that happen. The little things matter if you want to make a great product. But the WWE has either fired all the competent people or they just don't care. It's one or the other.
Largest grossing champion in the history of the business.
The 2026 Hall of Fame. The one that nobody watched. had an all-time classic come out of nowhere. Kevin Nash, nobody's favorite NWO member, had a therapy session recently when he discussed the inhumane conditions that he had to deal with at the Hall of Fame. And now you might be wondering, what in the blue hell did they do to him? Did he have to listen to Stephanie McMahon's speech back to back? That's enough to break any man. The strongest man in existence would break under those hell-like conditions. Did he have to watch a marathon of Triple H matches? It can't get any worse than that, right? Well, listen to this war story. Kevin Nash went almost one day without food.
Oh my God! What the fuck? Whoa!
Nash had to go 9 hours. 9 hours without any proper substance. Catering was there, but it wasn't up to Kevin's standards. They only had some chips and fruit to eat. Disgusting. Poor people food. Kevin Nash was there for 9 hours, and you expect him to survive only off chips? Are you crazy?
Are you a functional retard? I have to ask.
Where's the steak? The caviar? Kevin went through war out there, and you're laughing? You're laughing at the fact that Kevin Nash had to go 9 hours without any substance? Who has ever done that? That is impossible to do. To only be offered food that comes nowhere near his standards? Oh, the humanity! What man-made horrors are these? Who can possibly go 9 hours without food? Those are hell-like conditions. And you expect Kevin Nash to perform? He is supposed to sit there with an empty stomach? This is cruelty. This is a crime against mankind. This is an insult. We won't stand for this. We demand Kevin Nash to get fed by the WWE. It's not like it's 2026 and DoorDash exists, and it's not like he could have ordered food to the place for himself. No. This is an impossible task to solve. But all jokes aside, this is a nothing story. Compared to everything else, I can give a rat's ass about the catering for the Hall of Fame, but it is something to keep in mind. How financially well is this company really doing if they can't even afford to get real catering for their talent? What happened to all those record-breaking revenues? Where did the money go? Alright, I think that's plenty of complaining about the product issues.
Look, the best I could do is maybe a $19 Fortnite card.
Let's discuss the pay cut, because that is straight up bullshit. You're telling me a company that has been bragging and flexing on their fans for years now about how much money they have been making off them, now all of a sudden has to give people pay cuts, a 50% pay cut? And who accepts something like that? That is insulting. That is a slap to the face. And the person who agreed to it, nah, bro. Nah, that's a bad move. That can't happen. You can't agree to something like that. It's principle. You can't agree to a 50% pay cut. Just leave at that point. It would be more respectable than you short selling yourself to TKO of all people. Just another example of things not being as good backstage as the WWE would like us to believe. And screw it, since I already got you here, I might as well go over Backlash.
It was a stupid idea from bad creative and all that's gone.
Backlash 2026. Once again, exactly what you should be expecting from this company. A dull and lame ass show. Seth versus Braun was a good match. I just wished there was a feud and storyline behind it, because the garbage they gave us was not a storyline. They were in a group together, then Braun turned on Seth with no build-up. It just randomly happened. Seth went away, the group got more members, Seth came back, but then Braun got injured, Braun came back, and now they are wrestling each other. That is not a feud or a storyline. That is nothing. It is slop. Dan and The Miz had a comedy spot, so nothing to say. It is what it is. Comedy spots do have a place in wrestling, but I don't believe they belong on pay-per-views. And The Miz deserves a lot more than being wasted on Dan. Io and Asuka was good. Asuka can always carry anyone to a good match. I am sad to see Asuka go, but it is better than her being wasted in Triple H's WWE. I don't like how the match ended, where they broke character and hugged it out in front of the crowd. Once again, killing the believability of wrestling and the feud that they were trying to get over, so at the end of the day, it was a waste of time if you got invested into it. And the main event of Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu was forgettable with a lackluster ending. Roman being bitched out by Fatu at the end of the match is a great way to make your champion look like a bum and a loser. Overall, it was a bad show, but that is expected in today's WWE. So what did we learn today? Well, the WWE is cheap and is destroying the spectacle of their own product, and all their shows are the same recycled slop over and over again.